Hello guys, my name is Thomas.gr and today I represent to you my Metaphys deck profile. Well, Metaphys are a series of light worm type monsters that they specifically special summon themselves and do all their effects when they are banished once per turn and only once that turn. Why they are very good? They are very good because they can banish a lot of monsters and they can search almost anything. In a meta, when the opponent procs their effects by banishing cards that you control, you can take advantage of that and proceed to go for the win. So let's begin. First we play 3 Metaphys Tyrant Dragon. Tyrant Dragon is a very important card because if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Metaphys type monster, it's unaffected by trap effects. Also, if it attacks a monster, it can make a second attack in a row, but we don't use those effects most of the time. If this card is banished during the standby phase of the next turn, and this is shared by all Metaphys monsters, you can shuffle this banished card into the deck, special summon one Metaphys monster from your hand, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. So it's very neat, and we most of the time prefer to use the combo with Metaphys Nephthys, Daedalus and Tyrant to spell summon themselves and bring them back. Now we play 3 Metaphys Nephthys. Nephthys is a monster that when it's special summoned by the effect of a Metaphys monster, you can banish all set spell and traps on the field. That helps our plays, but it hinders the opponent's plays useless in most of the instances. And also it has a second effect that you can shuffle this card into the deck and add one Metaphys card from your deck into the hand, except itself. So it's pretty neat, and we preferred it as the search engine of the deck. And we play 3 Metaphys Daedalus. Daedalus is a card that when it's special summoned by the effect of a Metaphys monster, you can banish all other face up special summoned monsters on the field. That means it procs our effect and banishes all non-target banish. It's perfect, I think. And also, if this card is banished during the standby phase of the next turn, you can shuffle this card banished into the deck, banish one Metaphys card from your deck except Daedalus. So it's pretty neat, and it hinders its effect useless on itself, but it can set up all the other Metaphys monsters like Tyrant, like Nephthys, and it's pretty neat, and I think it's the heart and soul of the entire build, and it's pretty neat. Next we play 3 Aloof Lupine. Aloof Lupine, it's a card that when it's normal summoned, you can banish one monster from your hand, which helps our plays, and you can banish one other monster from your deck with the same type as that monster. So it's 2 pluses from this deck. And also if this card destroys a monster by battle, or if this card on its own possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can target one of your banished monsters, add it to your hand. So it's pretty neat because you can banish and take them back, or you cannot do any of these and still take the advantage of Aloof Lupine. Next we play 3 Metaphys Ragnarok. It's a tuner monster, and also it has a normal, when it's normal special summon, you can banish the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, it gains 300 attack for each Metaphys card that is banished by this effect. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon one level 5 or higher Metaphys monster from your deck, but banish it during the end phase. So it helps all the build. It's most like the best normal summon of the entire build. If we say Aloof Lupine, it's not, it's the second maybe best. But it's still very neat, and Ragnarok is a monster that it helps. And also, by going to synchro monsters, you will see we can do quite a bit. Next we play 3 Necrophase, that when we banish, when we banish this card, each player banishes 5 cards from the top of their deck, or the entire deck if it's less than 5. And also when you normal summon this card, you can shuffle all banished cards into the deck. That means face up or face down banished cards, and also gains 100 attack, which can gain a lot of beefy in most of the instances. Next we play 3 Metaphys Decoy Dragon, which is a pendulum monster despite all the other, and it's the one monster that we use most of the time to go to our Metaphys Horus. So I will explain what it does exactly. The effect is kind of the same, so added the pendulum effect. When your opponent is targeted, when a monster is targeted for an attack, you can target one of your Metaphys monsters that is banished or in the graveyard, banish this card, and if you do special summon that target in attack position, so it can special summon Daedalus. Daedalus will banish anything, or Nephthys to banish all set spell and traps, so it's pretty neat. And the monster effect is, when your monster is targeted for an attack, you can target one of your Metaphys monsters that is banished or in the graveyard, banish this card, and if you do special summon the monster in attack position. So it does the same effect, but during the standby phase of the next turn, after this card was banished, you can special summon this banished card. So that's why we play 3. It's pretty neat, it's pretty good, and it's kinda like forces your opponent to make a move that they want to go in other instances. So for example, if they attack, you can banish it and bring something that will hinder the plays, or even bring them in a very tight spot. Next we play 1 Terraforming to search our field spell, 1 Golden Sarcophagus to proc our effects, 2 Crossbreeding, caused by banishing 2 monsters that we have that are light and wyrm in most instances, and Lupaline and Necrophase doesn't share the trait and they cannot be searched by this, but it's very neat because we can banish 2 cards to search something else, which it's very good. Next we play 3 Left Arm Offerings. Left Arm Offering is a card that you can ban if you have 2 or more cards in your hand. You can banish the entire hand and add 1 spell from your deck to your hand, which is very neat because we most of the time try to bring our Metaphys. That's why we play 3 of these things as well. Once per turn, you can banish 1 Metaphys card from your hand, and if you do, draw 1 card. Once per turn, if your Metaphys cards and someone's position is banished, apply the effects depending on whose turn is it. Your turn. All monsters on the field lose 500 attack and defense, except Metaphys monsters. And on your opponent's turn, change the battle position of all monsters on the field except Metaphys monsters. So it's pretty neat because it can stall, or even it can proc effects, even hinder their abilities to have high power useless, so it's pretty neat and we can bypass them with Ragnarok. Next we play 1 Dimensional Fissure, because we'd like to banish a lot of things. It's pretty neat and pretty good, I think, in this era, because many effects are procced in the graveyard. Next we play 2 of the spell, Metaphys Factor, because each turn where we enter 1 level 5 or higher Metaphys monster, your normal summon can be summoned without tributing, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects to the response of the Metaphys monster's effect activations. So it's pretty neat because they cannot negate our effects, we can banish anything and we can proceed to go for the win. And for the trap cards, we play 3 Metaphys Ascension, which is I think the best card of one of the 3 bests in the entire build, because those and Ragnarok are the most important, but this is the 3rd most important card. Because you can discard 1 Metaphys card, draw 1 card, and then you can banish 1 Metaphys monster from your deck, which is neat. It's a little bit slow, but it's kinda it's good, but it has a second effect that if this card is banished, you can add 1 Metaphys card from your deck to your hand, except Metaphys Ascension. So basically, and you can only activate once per turn, this effect. So it's pretty neat, because we try to banish this most of the times, so we can bring back and search anything that we like to proceed. Next we play 1 Macrocosmos, because it's really nice to banish any card. It helps us more than it does the opponent, and I think it's one of the best cards to exemplify the playstyle. And last but not least, we play 3 Metaphys Dimension, because if your opponent spell summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can target one of your banished Metaphys monsters, special summon it, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. Also, if your other Metaphys cards in its own possession is banished, while this card is already face up in your spell and trap zone, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, banish it, so it's really neat, because you can most of the time go back and forth and try to banish anything that the opponent have, and proceed to go for the win. So, that's the main deck. For the extra deck, we play 2 Geomathmech Final Sigma, because pretty beefy monster, you make him in the extra monster zone, he's unaffected by card effects, so he doesn't go anywhere, he can really hold his ground, because 3000 attack unaffected by anything, it's pretty neat, and also if it attacks a monster and inflicts battle damage to your opponent, it's double. The others effects are not used in this build, but it's certainly a very good monster that we can have in our advantage. Next we play 2 Virtual World Beast Juju. Juju is a monster that it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects while you have 2 or more monsters in the graveyard with the same original type and attribute. That will be proc when we synchro summon our Horus most of the time, but also it's pretty neat because we can take the advantage of the second effect that it has. You can banish 2 monsters from your graveyard with the same original type and attribute, but different names, when you can turn 1 card on the field and send it to a graveyard. So basically we can banish our monsters, proc the effects, and also use the effect to send 1 card. So I think it's pretty neat in 2 copies, because Metaphys cards are not having a lot of extra deck cards, so it's pretty neat. Next we play 3 Metaphys Horus, the heart and soul of the deck if we go to the extra deck, and the only one good, I think, that it has the best effects in the game, and luckily they reprinted it in the Dude, so it's nice. So the first effect is when this card is synchro summoned, you can activate the appropriate effects depending on the non-tuner monsters for the synchro material. Normal monster. This face-up card is unaffected by other monster effects this turn. We don't use this effect, but we use the 2 others. Effect monster. You can target one other face-up card on the field, negate its effects. Pendulum monster. Your opponent chooses one monster they control and give it control to you, but cannot attack during turn. So first we try to bring the effect monster proc to negate one monster effect, and then we use the pendulum monster, so we will hinder the best of they have, with a negation in its effects, and try to steal the other monster. But if they try to bring out to give us the better monster, it's pretty neat because we can go to a link play and hinder their summon mechanic useless, and it's pretty neat to go for that way. For the level 8 rank engine, we run only one gimmick puppet giant grinder because we try to nuke the opponent and try to burn them in case they have a lot of Xyz monsters. And also it's pretty neat to have at 1 copy, I think. Next we play 1 big eye to steal our opponent's monsters by using 2 Daedalus. Sometimes the opponent will try to negate one and you bring another that it will have its effects, so you can banish the other Daedalus, but in case they have 2 negations, we can go to a big eye and proceed stealing something, so it's pretty neat in that regard. Next we play 1 Firewall Decoy Dragon, because we like to go to our link monsters one case or another, but I think it's pretty neat to have as an extender player, and it's kind of very difficult to bring it out and have the combo complete. But in very high games, this sure will take the advantage of the opponent and try to win the game for you in the most good way and cool way as possible. Next we play 1 Tornado Dragon to MST our opponent's cards, 1 Castell to Book of Moon or shuffle 1 card into the deck by touching 2, 1 Crabble Logos, because I think it's pretty neat to have in case we try to bring something to the edge of cliff and try to bring it down by negating its effects. And last but not least, we play the 2 monsters that I prefer as link monsters, 2 Topologic Zeroboros, because it's really neat, because you can return all of your banished cards back into a link arrow, try to banish everything with Daedalus or something like Spell and Traps, and then Topologic Zeroboros will banish a second time more, so it's pretty neat in that regard, and I think it's the best card if you go to the extra deck other than Horus. So that's the deck profile. See you again, guys, bye bye!